ETEM Hetep, Sinet,
What's up?
This is your brother Asaram Ka, Uncle Jasaneb, telling you once again, remember who you are and be an Asar. Today is a very special day for me because we have two Tp Awy's in the building. We have first, let me introduce him, the Tp Awy, the Him Netcha, and his Himit Netcha. Shebek is with him as well today. The Het Netcha Sasheni Het Had Nubub, or Nub Kera Amen Ra, Temple of the White and Gold Lotus, Shrine of Amen Ra. Hari-Khaf-Ra is in the building with us today. And before we get started, we got to let him bless us with the sounds of Amen Ra. Say by Harry, if you will.
Hotabu Nabu, peace everyone. And in Iraq, Slim Marie, beloved brother. Ptah Seker saw in Iraq, Slim Marie. Asar, Mka, Hetabu, Repon Petna Fair. Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year.
Back.
I like to call down the vibration of the Pertin Brew, the book of coming forth by day. And that book was not a book about the dead, about the ever transitioning, the ever Kepra, not about the dead. It's about constant Kepra, Kepra in the head, Kepra in the head. When you get that down, then you don't worry so much. So the Pertin Brew, the book coming forth by day, is about constant transition. And we sing to Ra, introducing the Ra calendar, the solar calendar.
Behold,
Dua. And I believe they
Care.
ended this, even though I think
I,
the sound might have went out.
they love.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Say Harry work on that.
And well,
Awesome.
let me continue on with that was a Hesse affirmation Saku for atomic energy. Appraises the Ra when he rises into the horizons, Eastern the Pet, the Pertem Heru. Let me continue with the mirrored reflection of our origins of existence and creation of the universe, and I will do perform the Hesse to the creator of all existence. Duau, Onk was the jet, Onk Kuja Seneb, Ubenefike, Panebu, Heru Ma'at, O Ra, Nebuchadnezzar, divine creator of all existence, master and possessor of light and radiation, of heat and movement. Bless us humble servants for Ankh life now present, for we seek the counsel of the ancient ones and practice daily the ancient Martin ways and ancient Martin truths. We strive evermore to become one with thee in this world and in the existence to come. We ask that you bless us on this, the 13th day of the first month of Jehuti, the second day of Ost, the 13th day of the first month of the first season of Shemu, year number 7, AFNK/FT, ST, after the founding of New Kemet, Naga Kemet, Samad Tawi, phenomenon of precession, New Age order, great golden age of Ma'at Asar. We ask that you bless our families and friends and all those of us who gather together to worship in your most holy, sacred, and glorious ancient Tamarian name of Ra, Nebuchadnezzar, for in the art of seeking you there is much comfort. So as it is spoken, so let it be written, so let it be said, so let it be done, for now and forever forward. Ra, Nebuchadnezzar, Uncle Wastajet, Uncle Jasaneb, Uben Nefukir, Panabu, Heru, Ma'at, Hotel.
Me as the small sesh, I will be brief. An offering of Ma'at has been made to you to give satisfaction to your heart. And your heart shall live in her, and your soul shall live in Amun Ra. You are at peace, and you flourish through her. Ma'at has taken up her position with your shrine. Jehuti, the great one of the words of power, makes protection for you, and he has overthrown for you the enemies. Ma'at is established throughout the Sematawi, truly twice established. She is yours forever and ever, O Divine One, creator of joy, beneficent of nature, whose word is law, beloved of Amun Ra. Ankwas Jeg. Let me introduce the second speaker, Saber Ptah Seker, royal scribe, master craftsman. He's a Ptah, keeper of the time, house of the holy house of Ra. His per Ankh is in Boston. He's also founder of the only that I know of remake of a Nubian House of Life in the Boston Museum, if I'm not mistaken. Saber Ptah, the floor is yours.
Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists, 300 Walnut Ave. That's the Royal Burial Chamber of Nesubiti Espalta. It's the only reconstructed tomb, Egyptian tomb in the United States of America. There's not one at the Metropolitan Museum, the Smithsonian, nowhere. It's located in Roxbury, Boston, Mass, at the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists. We was there last week during the helical rising, the first helical rising, which occurred on July 25th on the Gregorian calendar at 5:03 in the morning. This is the Nesubiti calendar. This is our Asarian solar calendar. But on that day, we was at the Museum of the National Center of Afro-American Artists, 300 Walnut Ave, to give praises to the star, the helical rising, and to reestablish our connection with the cosmic mother and to our divine birthright, which is immortality. Is what we're here today to continue our immortality, because the star rose on August the 3rd on the East Coast, Northern Southern Hemisphere, at 5:24 a.m. on August the 3rd, and it will rise on August the 9th at 5:56 on the West Coast, Northern Southern Hemisphere. So you have 3 chances to celebrate this divine, this most auspicious moment, the most greatest moment of our African cultural, ancestral spirituality, is our connection to this star. They stole our yesterdays, they denying us our tomorrows, but what we have is right now. to embrace right now, and that is to embrace the star Suptet and Ra rising. This is the Ipeteru Shabitem Tuaru Pamaat, the 2017-2018 edition. I dedicated this to my brother, my Siba, my good friend, Professor Brother Reggie, affectionately known as Professor Reggie Mabry at Black News 102, Side TV. This is dedicated to my brother, Professor Reggie Mabry. And this is the Ipeteru Shabitem Tuaru Pamaat. And what I've done is this is a 3-in-1 calendar. I superimposed the Gregorian calendar right on top of this calendar because the Gregorian calendar is nothing but a plagiarized version of our African calendar anyways. And if you have this calendar already, all you do is you look for the Serects. Serects are primordial cartouches. And inside the Serect here it says August, like it begins here with the red pet. And then on the 25th of August, on the Gregorian calendar, you follow the bottom line for the Gregorian timeline. It leads you to August. Then you follow August, and then you follow your way around. But there are 9 days of the week, not 7. So we would know that the primordial temple discipline text goes before the Romans and the Greeks. There were 9 days in every week, and time was kept by charting stars that were visible on our calendar, aware of the movement of the earth, stars, and moon. These ancient African indigenous primordial Naga, Shemsaru, Nesubiti, Siba, Sibats, Mutnatats, the immortal ones of Ma'at peoples were cosmically attuned. And we're going to discuss that in full detail for the scholarship because we're about to introduce you to your Naga ship. Most people think there's 7 days in a week. If you have a 7-day-in-a-week calendar, that means there's 30 days in a month. If you have an 8-day-a-week calendar, the mathematical equation is 30 days in a month. If you have a 10-day-week calendar with 3 weeks in each month, which comes out to 30 days, such as the Kemetic calendar that people follow today, it's still a lunar cycle calendar. That means you have been severed from the star and the sun, and you was left with just a civil calendar. So we're going to break this down scholarly and with primordial temple discipline to give you back your Naga ship so we can put the mathematical equation before the people and let the people decide where lies the Ma'atian mathematical equation. Did Hari-Khaf-Ra come back yet?
Not yet, but we do know Pasejet U stands for 9.
Absolutely,
and
absolutely. And the part not the
I'm not in it. My name Bennett. I'm not in it, but I'm definitely I back my brother in
right
cases. So
most people are not ready to commit to the 9-day calendar because they're so conditioned with this Gregorian calendar. But let's find out the fallacies of this Gregorian calendar. Every 130 years, one unearned day is added to the calendar. That's why they have to keep reforming the calendar. So if you was a scholar and you do your due diligence, you would have to Google first calendar reform. And if you Google first calendar reform, which all you have to do is look at any of my posts. I got it posted on every post. I have all the scholarship information already done. It took me 50 years of research to establish and place this back into the Ma'atian timeline. Okay? So every 130 years, one unearned day is added to the calendar. If you Google calendar reform, first calendar reform, you'll see 754 BCE, which is called AUC. AUC is Ab Urbe Cotita. Ab Urbe Cotita is Latin for upon the founding of the city of Rome, because all we know is Greek and Latin. After Ptolemy came in 300 BCE, after Ptolemy, the Medunetta was forbidden to be spoken. So Ptolemy has the second calendar reform. So we go 754 BC down to 299 BC, and you'll find, if you do your due process as a scholar, you'll find the decree of Canopus 1, 2, and 3, which is done by Ptolemy the first, third, and fifth. Now, in these decrees, it was ordained and decreed to maintain our subjugation, our mental subjugation, and to implement, to restore the spring solstice to its original position. Because after 754 BC, in 130 years, 100 days added to the calendar, there's this called the drift. The sun wanders from the spring equinox. So they have to keep reforming the calendar, not that they wanted to, since they already have us mentally incarcerated, but they have to reform the calendar because if they don't, the crops aren't going to grow. That means you're going to plant at the wrong time and the people are going to starve. So they had to reform the calendar. So that's the third calendar. Fourth calendar reform is the Ptolemy the fifth, because we have the decree of Canopus 1, 2, 3 is the 2, 3, and 4. And the first one is 754 BC, which is Eratosthenes and Aristarchus, for you scholars who must do your due process, which is necessary. I have scholarship, but I am not a scholar. I would never call myself a scholar because a scholar is a Greek and a Roman. That means I come from the school of Plato. That means I'm a wig wearer. That means that I am a Greek and a Roman and I am a disgrace to my ancestors. Okay? But now let us continue. For those who are Greeks and Romans and those who do wear the wigs. Let's continue with your scholarship. The next calendar reform is 46 BC. It's called the Julian calendar. Julius Caesar rolls up on Sosigenes, who is the vizier of Cleopatra. He puts his knife to his neck, his genitals in his body, because you know they was homosexual. They was very, very, very homosexual people. And he says, I'm Caesar. I came, I saw, I conquered. So we went from 9 days in a week to 8 days. We went from 10 months to 11. Caesar got assassinated in the Senate. Came Tiberius, then came Augustus Caesar. Augusta rolls up on Sosigenes. He says, I'm just as great as Julius. Put me on the map. So we went from 8 days to 7. We went from 11 months to 12. We know this is true because all we know is Latin and Greek. And through simple cognitive deduction, we know that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 means 10. Yet December is our 12th month. November is nueve. Nueve means 9, but it is our 11th month. Octo, the Latin root word for octo is 8 because an octagon has 8 sides. An octopus has 8 tentacles. It means 8, but it's our 10th month. Sept is siete or 7, but it's our 9th month. That is because of two historical figures, July, which is Julius Caesar, and August, which is Augustus Caesar. Okay? Now, this is when you start to figure out the fallacy of this Julian calendar or Gregorian calendar that you have on your wall. Second of all, if January the 1st is on a Monday, 2017, hypothetically speaking, January 1st, 2017 is on a Monday, 2018 is on a Tuesday, 2019 is on a Wednesday, 2020 is on a Thursday, that means 2021 is on a Saturday because there's a leap year. Okay? So this means because it's a perpetual calendar. Our calendar is perennial. We're back to Greek and Roman again. Perpetual means to continue. It means continuous movement. Perennial means fixed. Our calendar is a perennial calendar. It's fixed. The stars are fixed. The same way it's going to be next year, the stars will be there in the sky. So this means that the star that was in the sky at your birth, within 7 years, when your birthday comes in 7 years after that, that star is no longer in the sky. So he severed you from your cosmic birth star. He severs you from the cosmic environment that allows you love, guidance, and protection through the daily experience of pondable matter. This is what they figured out on how to steal our immortality, because that's what they came to Africa for, to take our immortality, and how they did it was through time. And through time, we understood it scientifically, religiously, mathematically. We knew it astronomically, astrologically, and how to read and write it through the Medunetta. So, this was the beginning of how they began to distort time. Now, the next calendar reform, let us continue for the scholars to do due diligence. The next calendar reform is 325 AD, which is called the Council of Nicaea. They couldn't figure out if Jesus was the Father, the Son, or the Holy Ghost, or was he all three. We know that he never even existed because Ptolemy the Eighth, Soter, Serapi, September, Christius, had the Christian religion, the bishops of Christ in 125 AD. So that's 125 years before Jesus was even born. So we know he's a fictitious person. But anyways, they aligned the spring solstice, and they made March 21st Jesus' birthday. This is how they reformed the calendar at the Council of Nicaea. If you read the Council of Nicaea, it talks about Jesus being the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost. Was he all? Was he none? What he was And Pope Constantine, he made a decree. If you don't want to go with this, everybody dies. This is what it is. You know how the Romans do. But they aligned Jesus to March the 21st. Of course, the Roman calendar began on March also with the god of Mars, but they made a concession with Julius Caesar back in 46 BC that we would make January 1st the New Year's because that's when the Roman Senate took office. So they made concessions. And then we know that the last calendar reform is 1585, which is Pope Gregory the Eighth, which is the Gregorian calendar. So once you start to learn about this count, about time, and how it's presented to us daily, you begin to understand that it's a melting pot of a whole bunch of nonsense that you never even took the time to even study to figure out. Like the days of the week. Here you have the days of the week. They have 7 days in a week. They have Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Now, the first 2 days are stayed originally African, indigenous, which was the day of the sun and the day of the moon. The next day is Tuesday, which is the Roman goddess Twi. And if you relate that to Spanish, Tuesday becomes Martes, and Martes means Mars, the planet Mars. Then we go to Mercules, which Mercules means Mercury in Spanish, but Mercules, which is Wednesday, which is Woden, the day of Woden, who becomes Odin. Now we go to Norway to the Vikings. And Woden, who was Odin, had a son named Thor. And Thor became Thursday. And Thursday in Spanish is Jueves. Jueves became Jupiter. And then we have Friday, we go back to Rome, to the Roman goddess Frigga, the goddess of Roman conjectural merriment, when the orgies and they party, the grapes, the wine, and all that fornication. But we know Friday in Spanish is Viernes, and Viernes becomes Venus. And of course, Saturday is Saturn. And this is how they came across the days of the week that you go by every day. It has no meaning. It has no function. It has no purpose within the order of existence or to your nagaship or to your immortality. So all they doing is they disconnected you from the cosmic and biblical cord of our cosmic mothers and our origins and order of existence. Now let's go to the month of the year. January is Janus. Janus is the Roman goddess with 2 heads going in different directions. You ever see that commercial, that stock market commercial? Janus, we save you all the money, invest with us. And has a coin with 2 heads on it. Janus is the Roman god. He has a wife named Fibre who became February. And of course, March became Mars because Mars was their war god. Then after that came April. April is April, who had a mate named June. June became June, the goddess of vegetation. And that's when their Roman months ended because they ran out of gods because the Roman civilization was only 300-400 years old then. So they followed up the rest of the calendar with numbers, Roman numbers. We went to September, October, November, December. Okay, this is how that calendar came about. All they did was falsified, plagiarized, and corrupted the information, and then regurgitated it back to you in an unholy manner. Can I continue, Seba, with this information?
Absolutely. I was going to say we just had the helical rising, but I'm gonna let you mix that in as you helical rising, and it's important to Kemet and let's connect it. Let's connect it.
Exactly. So now, here's the days of the week. Now, if you go, for those of you who are scholars or who are students of the Kemetic teachings, go to the tomb of Senumet. If you go to the tomb of Senumet, which is not corrupted, he was the chief mortuary architecture of the temple of Hatshepsut, who they say he was his lover, her lover too, and he had children from her. But in his temple, you will see on the right side of Tawawurt, which is the hippopotamus goddess, which represents the circumpolar stars, the northern pole stars. And behind her, you will see 9 figures personified with sun disk on their head. And the first figure on the Medunetta would say Ost. And the next, Isis. Ost is a name, but you might know in Greek as Isis. Next would be the 4 children of Heru, which was Mesta, Hapi, Tuamutep, and Quebsanub. And then there was two different, two miscellaneous names that I couldn't decipher because it was the 18th dynasty. But here we have, this is how I reestablished the original names of the days of the week. There are 9 days in a week. We know there's 9 days in a week because there's 9 Natarus. We know numerically there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Then you go back to 0 and put the 1 is 1, and then it's 1, 1, 1, 2, and it goes back to 0 and it's 2. So it's back to 9 is the complete number. There's 9 planets in the solar system. The 9 equation is mathematically the mother equation. But now let me just show you how I renamed the names of days of the week. We kept Ra, so what we had to do, we had to look at it in the eyes of our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors, or for you scholars, early hominins, or Homo sapiens sapien, or Australopithecus africanus humanus, whatever you want to call them. But our most earliest ancient African indigenous ancestors, who were human beings, by the way, sons of the Heru. They looked at the stars, they looked at the sky, and then they saw the sun was the most powerful force in the sky. So the first day became Sunday, or Ra Day, and it still remains today as Sunday. And as you move closer to the earth, you see the moon. So the moon became the second day, which is the day of Tehuti. Now you move from the sun to the moon, now you're on the planet Earth. So the next day was called Seb. It wasn't called Geb, and it wasn't called Keb. If you call the earth Geb with a G, that means you learn from the school of Gardner's sign lists, or you learned from Champollion, you learned from Bremstead, Birches, Petrie, all the renowned scholars of Europe and Germany. But Geb, Seb with an S means, SB means earth. It means solid, because we're dealing with matter now. We're going to break this down because right now we're dealing with the Pertem Heru on atomic level, but eventually we're going to relate this scientifically, religiously, mathematically, with astronomy, astrology, and the Medunetta, because this is primordial temple discipline. This is how we teach. This is called Nagaship. This is not scholarship, even though we are scholars. I mean, we have scholarship. But let's continue. Seb means earth. Seb means solid, SB. And if you spell it backwards in Medunetta, it means best. And best means fire. So we know that inside the center of the earth is a ball of fire, a molten ball of fire. So this is how we know this Medunetta is correctly pronounced, and it is correctly interpreted, because it relates generically and esoterically. So so we have day of Ra, the day, there's the sun disk on his head. The day of Jehuti, he has the moon on his head. The day of Seb, he has the goose on his head. Now that we're on the earth, we look to the left, we look to the right, and we see Mother Nature. So we name the next day the day of Ast, or Isis, the name of Ast, because that's Mother Nature. Now we're here on the earth, we see Ast and what she's doing, but now you have to orientate yourself to the celestial axis. So we have the 4 children of Heru become the next 4 days: Mesta, Hapi, Tuamutep, and Quetzalcoatl. This means that we have the 4 pillars of Pet, we have the 4 elements, we have the 4 cardinal points, and then we have the last day would be Heru. And that's how I renamed, or Ra named. I hate to use the word Re, because Re is only a corrupted version of Ra. So we Ra named, this is how we Ra member, this is how we Ra connect, this is how we Ra assemble the dismembered body of our paternal father, Asau Nefer Kenti Amenti. So this is what we're here to do, to help you remember. It's already there, you just need to remember. But every day you wake up with that Gregorian calendar on your wall. That's the first thing he gets us with. This is how we maintain. How is it? I like to ask the question, Seba, is that for 3,000 years, since the Spalta, Bianchi, Tahaka, and Shabaka, and the Kush kings from Medaway, Napata, and Nerdi, when they lost control of Kemet, of Samatawi, the upper and lower Kemet, to Darius and the Persians, and then the Greeks, and then the Libyans in the 26th dynasty, and they took us to court. How is it that they're able to pass down to their children and their descendants how to maintain our mental incarceration, our mental, physical, spiritual slavery, yet we cannot pass down in 3,000 years how to free ourselves and liberate ourselves through our children and our descendants? And the question and the answer.
Oh, go ahead, Saber. Saber, go ahead on.
And the answer is very quite simple. Because all you have to do is remember what you did this morning. What is it that you did this morning that you did every other morning that keeps you from becoming liberated in your mind and freeing yourself back to into your immortality? What you did was you looked at that clock. You looked at that watch. As soon as you looked at that watch to find out what time it is, because you know you got to report. You have to report to the plantation. You have to report to the plantation. I apologize. um, you have to report to the plantation. So you have to know what time it is. So they have you on GMT and UTC. UMT, U, GMT is Greenwich Mean Time, and UTC is Universal Time Coordinated. This is what time they use, and that is at Stonehenge, England, which is 52 parallels north of the equator. How can that be 0 longitude and 0 latitude when we know that, and we know, I'm sorry.
No, you could say
Uh,
what you're going.
oh,
It's not enough. It's not even loud enough for us to really hear it. Not even.
oh, thank goodness. Um, so if we look at the world land map, if we look at the map of the world, and we put the land mass in the center of the world of the map, and you cross section it, the cross section lands right on the Giza Plateau at 30 longitude, 30 latitude today, which is really 00, which is called the Nilotic Meridian. This is where the center of the world, Earth, is. Now, they moved, and they ran Aspalta, Pianki, Tabaka, Shabaka, and the Kush, or the Nubian Pharaoh, or Nubian Kush King Nesubitis out of Kemet. I mean, back up into upper Egypt. They changed, since they control the world, they moved the center of the world to England. Europeans moved it to England, to Stonehenge, England. Now after they got you control with your watch, now you looked at the wall and you looked at that Gregorian calendar. Now they got you on Gregorian time, under a lunar cycle time. That means with a lunar cycle calendar, you can measure the inundation of the Nile, inundating and receding. You can also measure how to grow crops. You can also measure the menstrual cycle. You can also measure the birth and gestation. And you can also measure the high and low tide. But we as Naga people, we as the immortal ones, our ancient African indigenous primordial Naga spirituality is based upon the stars. It's based upon the atomic energy. It's based upon the sun and the star. We are star children. We came from the stars, and our ancestors believe we will return to the stars. That's why you see in every Egyptian tomb, there is stars on top of the wall, and all the Neteru's are leading you through these certain rituals to be born anew as a star. So this is what our ancestors, our history and our spirituality and our doctrines were always predicated upon. And how they changed everything was through time. So it took me 50 years to reestablish this calendar. 50 years of studying at the Tesha Ra. That's the Holy House of Ra, Boston, Massachusetts. And I studied every calendar in the world, and they're all lunar cycle calendars. The only cycle calendar that's not lunar cycle is the Dogon, and the Nigerian calendar, and the West African calendar, but they only have 3 or 4 days in a week. But these 3 or 4 days in a week are really representing primordial aspects, not atomic energy, but subatomic. So if you didn't understand the difference between light and radiation and heat and movement, and the principles of the science and the religion and mathematics of our ancestors, and how to apply it astrologically and astronomically, and through speaking it through the Medunetta to pronounce the words of power, then you would not have a clue. You would just be a scholar. You would just be another wig wearer. You would not have a clue to your spirituality. So I reintroduced this calendar. This calendar is the 2017-2018 edition, and I dedicated this calendar to my good friend and colleague. His name is Brother Reggie Mabry. I'd like to give a shout out to my brother Reggie Mabry at Sinetta TV, Black News 102. I've dedicated this calendar to him. He's been holding down. He's been holding down. Hold on. Yo, Okay, I'm gonna take a break for a minute. I'm gonna take a break for a minute. I'm gonna take a
Okay,
break
so
for a minute. Uncle Set, I have Uncle Set running around here. Just go in the house, Uncle Kenny. Uncle Kenny, just go in the house. You know how he gets, Uncle Kenny. I'm live, Uncle Kenny. I'm live around the world right now.
we're going to mute brother Ptah's microphone for a little bit while he handles the family. As a priest should, you know, you got to handle the family sometimes. Our brother Hari-Khaf-Ra was on with us for so long. I think his telephone may have died. So trying to get him back has been a chore at the moment. But you have here, and if you're not familiar, you're familiar with both of them. Taking the last one first. So as we were just with Saber Ptah Seker, you can check his Facebook, ptahoriginals.com. That's www.ptahoriginals.com, Ptah Originals. And you'll notice when you go into the store, you can send a U.S. postal money order, make it payable to Dana R. Williams, 37 Oak Crest Road, Boston, Massachusetts, 02136. Or you can do it through PayPal, available now. The single calendars, they're only $20. You're talking about one of our elders. So sending him $20 and taking a look at his work, whether you believe in a different calendar or not. This is one of the elders who you stand upon, right? This is one of the brothers who was in the ASCAC, et cetera, et cetera. So definitely worth a look at your time as you see different cultures who come over to the Americas, and even when they're in their own homes. So Muslims come over, they set up a calendar. They move off that calendar. Hebrews come over, they set up a calendar. They move off that calendar, right? Hindus come over, they set up a calendar and they move off of that calendar. They celebrate their festivals off of that calendar. So it's definitely worth looking over, taking a look at. I don't know any of you who follow the Messiah calendar. I don't know any of you who follow the Dogon calendar even, you know, different people who were in ancient Kemet. I don't even know if you follow a Kentihen Nofer, a Nubian calendar, some of you. So these are some of the things that you have to look at, that you need to think about and start to constitute in your everyday life, and some of the things that you can start to base your lifestyle around. Because if you're still living, it makes no sense if your ethics are saying this, but you're still living like that. You understand what I'm saying? Your ethics tell you to be ma'at, be ma'atical, be heru, remember who you are, be in a star, etc., etc. And you still nourish your soul with things that are unma'atical on a daily basis. On a daily basis. But check out the brother Ptah Seker's site. He does 1 hour consultations and teachings. When he does his healings, how to tell time, the pharaonic solar calendar, cosmic awareness, universal enlightenment, immortality, etc., etc. He teaches several things that you can learn from him. Not just the calendar, but the calendar is one of the things that is his new claim to fame, and one of the things that we can support the elder on. Now, the brother, and of course, in the Black History Museum in Boston, the brother built basically a Kentihen Nofer temple and the Hesi temple, a Nubian temple in there. And he's been to Kemet, he's been to Kentihen Nofer, he's been to both. And you won't see any replica that matches it here in the United States so far that I know of. He did an excellent work. Speaking of the brother Hari-Khaf-Ra, who is a Tp Awy, he's been a staple of ancient Kemet for years. Pyramidmatrix.info. Let me give that to you again. That's pyramidmatrix.info. And That's the cyber temple of the white and gold lotus, the shrine of Amun Ra. It's a psychic interactive website. Um, I'll read right from the website. He says we must rapidly spiritually evolve such that we control the atoms and molecules within and around us. So you know he's coming with some heavy thoughts. We have solutions that will improve your life. Now, when he says that, he's not just talking. He actually means it. Why do I say that? I don't know if you guys are familiar with Ka. Ka built a lot of things for Amenhotep the third and the second. The buildings you walk through generally when you go visit ancient Kemet are probably built by him because you're probably in the main sites. And that means he's an engineer. That means he builds. That means he's a master in construction. This brother here is also the same thing, and taught his son, homeschooled, never been in a public school, taught his son, who graduated with honors from the School of Tokyo recently, and won an award. The award slips my mind. I wish I had him on the phone to remind me of the name of the award, but they homeschooled him and the Hemet Netcheret Sebek, his wife, homeschooled. And this brother came out with honors. He's only 25 years old. My son is 24. I'm like, wow. So that's some of the knowledge you got a chance to sit with today. Unfortunately, technical difficulties prevailed, but you're sitting with that type of knowledge today, that type of insight. And on the brother, like I said, pyramidmatrix.info, this is what you can get. You'll learn the Amun Ra chant, of course. You'll get a free magazine, but more importantly, he's got online classes for the priesthood, useful stuff in your life, things that you should know. He is that, as if he was a wab, knowing measurements, etc. You can learn the history of Kemet. You can learn Medu Neter there, Kemetic culture, martial arts, and math, most importantly, from, like I said, his son won awards. So Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Algebra 3, geometry, trigonometry, calculus 1, etc., etc. So you can pick that up for like 1995. You see what I'm saying? You can learn this from a neb, from a neb, from Hari-Khaf-Ra directly. So you would take care of the elders, plus you're going to learn something, and this is good for your youth. So if you don't really know math, it's going to be very easy for you to put these DVDs on and allow him to assist you in teaching. If you're homeschooling, or if your child is having difficulties in math, or if you're older and your job depends upon math and you having difficulties, you can go right here and pick it up, right? Kemetic culture, which they are all about. If you've seen their house, they're definitely all about that. Kemetic mind and science, the martial arts, heavy Tai Chi practitioner, the brother Hari-Khaf-Ra. You've probably seen him on TV with Infudishi Jehutimus, another martial arts expert, excellent Neb. And that's what you were sitting here with today. Science beyond science, as they said on the Thundercast. They used to say sight beyond sight. Yeah, well, you're dealing with sight beyond sight. Let me reintroduce Saber Ptah Seker, as he was breaking down the knowledge for us so eloquently on the calendar and how he sees it. And Saber Ptah, let me unmute you here. He had to handle it like a priest. Can you hit your mute button? It should let you out of there. It won't let me do. One more time, I think. No? Let me see. Let me see if I can unmute you. Hold on, Saber Ptah, because they cannot hear you. But I'm going to figure it out. There it is. Muted. It's bringing back up. Unmuting. Did you do it? Uncle Seth is at work, as he would say. I'm trying to unmute you now. I don't know why it's not doing it. Give me my. Come on. Yeah, I'm going to share my controls with you. Hit your is it camera? Hit your control room, and you should be able to unmute.
Hello.
There you go. All right.
You got me now? Hey. Okie dokie. Now we rolling. That's good. Do I Uncle Seth's working hard. Anyone Uncle Seth didn't want us to get past this next phase. You know, we had a little Uncle Seth just see that's why it's important that in order to have your Nagaship, in order to have your cosmic Naga swagger, in order to be in tune with cosmic primordial temple discipline, you must have your body must be in tune with the right frequencies and right vibrations. That's why in the temple you have to walk through the halls of Ma'at. Then the halls of Ma'at, you must learn to live it. To live it, you might call it the diet, but we call it the live it because why would I want to diet? It already tells you I'm going to die. So I'm not trying to eat anything that's a diet. I want to eat the live it. And inside the live it, the doctrines of Ma'at, there are only five rules. 5 rules to the live it. And the first rule is eat only of the seed. If it doesn't have a seed, do not put it in your mouth. The only thing that you put in your mouth that doesn't have a seed is water. Very simple. I know we broke every rule, broke all the rules this morning. Okay. Rule number 2. Never eat and drink at the same time. Do not mix your solids with your liquids. When you drink first, and then you wait, then you eat. And when you eat, the food produces its own saliva and liquid, and you eat so that the solids can be digested down to the large intestine, and you can feel it. It takes 45 minutes for a novice, and you'll feel it go boom. That means that the food is digested, and now you could drink, and that will come down and digest into your small intestine. This is why people who break this rule always have a big belly. They got the big Buddha belly. All the females are blowing up sideways with tire irons. Your face is disfigured. It's because of your eating habits. You're eating like a European. You're eating, not a European. It's called a Sethian diet. It's nothing to do with color no more. This is universal. It's like I say, this is an age of cosmic awareness, spiritual consciousness, and universal enlightenment. You're here to enlighten yourself. You cannot become enlightened if your body is contaminated. That means your body frequencies. They have online. You can Google. I think it's Dr. Taino. He has a body chart for body frequencies, and it's told that we are scientifically dead. Scientifically, we're walking around dead on the lowest of frequencies, meaning that you're actually dead, even though your eyes are moving, your brain is thinking, but you're dead. Then he took away time from you. Now you're lost in space. You don't even know where you're at. You just know you're on the ground. You don't even know you're on a planet called Seb that's rotating. The Earth has 3. Okay, but before I go there, the five. Don't mind me. Sometimes I move faster than light. The 5 rules of the living are Eat only of the seed. It doesn't have a seed, don't put it in your mouth, only water. Don't eat and drink at the same time. Rule number 2, don't mix your solids with your liquids. Rule number 3, eat as the table earth prepares the food. From the vine, from the tree, or from the ground. Rule number 4, never overeat. That means don't glut yourself. And rule number 5 is fast occasionally. Certain periods of the year you must refrain from eating to detoxify, purify, to cleanse the body. And in accordance to the Ipetaru Shabitam Tuaru Pamaat, meaning that during the solstices, the equinoxes, and certain festivals and certain times of the year, like August 21st coming up on the Gregorian calendar, we have the solar eclipse that's coming in the United States. It's going to be visible in the United States. It's during this time of the year, that day, you don't want to eat anything to attune yourself to these cosmic forces, because Ra, Jehuti, and Seb are connecting, and it's going to create an eclipse. Now, of course, our Septian slave masters or the Europeans would tell you don't look at the eclipse. It'll blind you. Now, unmelanated people, I don't know. Maybe you might get blinded, but I'm looking at the solar eclipse. When I see Ra and Seb and I see Jehuti hook up together, and the cosmic forces that allow me love, guidance, and protection through the daily experiences of ponderable matter, I'm connecting and tuning myself to the proper frequency so that I can receive this cosmic message. But yet they'll tell you not to look at it. So it's all about becoming in tune. And to become in tune means you have to eat the right things. You have to eat the food that gives you life, not the food that brings you death. They've always trying to set a limitation for you. They've always given you an expiration date. It got you living 40, 50 years old, and you're ready to check out. You're ready to go from kickboxing to pine boxing. You're ready to jump into the box. When our ancestors lived hundreds and hundreds of years, thousands of years. As a matter of fact, in the Council of Elders, if you wasn't 300 years old, you couldn't even come in and speak. You're still a child. It takes you that long to learn these things. It takes you that long. But under the present diet and present living, under the foods that you eat, the food that you go to the store, everything that you buy in the store is conditioned to bring about your premature demise. Everything is artificially tainted. That it's not going to kill you immediately, but 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you made an organ just malfunction or dysfunction, and it creates what they call an expiration date. So this is all part of being Ma'atian. Ma'atian not only means what is truth, right, righteously great, straightforward, reciprocity. You have to live Ma'at. You have to wake up in the morning and be Ma'at. You have to talk with Ma'at. You have to talk the words of Ma'at. You have to move as Ma'at. You have to breathe as Ma'at. You must become Ma'atian. This is what it means to be a Naga, to be a Shemsu Eru, to be a Nesubiti, to be a Hemet, to be a Siba and a Sibat. Is to be able to be in tune with the cosmic forces. Now, of course, the information to achieve that is called scholarship. You must learn your scholarship to get to that point. But after you learn, don't think that scholarship is all that you have to learn. Because the no scholarship just means that you're a Greek and a Roman. It only means that you're a wig wearer. You must learn your Nagaship. We sent you out to the schools to learn the information, to bring it back to us, to reestablish and to realign ourselves to the Ma'atian ways of our ancestors. But you came back with a wig on, with a white picket fence and with a Bible in your hand. Okay? But back to have to be understanding Ma'at. To understand Ma'at, you have to walk through the halls of double right and double truth. You must pronounce the words. This is where you must learn your Medunetta. You must go to school. There's a nice on the Amin Ra squad. They have the Seshu Medunetta classes. You should go to this classes with Bourgeois and Asa Hotep. They teach good Medunetta, basic Medunetta, or you could go to Raketi Amen, the Queen Mother who brought back the living language. Go to her, study from her. Hari-Khaf-Ra teaches good Medunetta. But basically, in the Medunetta, it's the motion is a requirement. And then the motion is a requirement, necessity, and the separating of the collective energy contained within the motionless cold void, such as new, primordial nothingness, dark energy, oblivion, or cosmological constants. It's all talk about the same thing, just different studies. It's all one thing. We're talking about that which came out of nothingness. And our spirituality was based upon this. It's called the concept of self-creation. So it's hard to understand this concept if you don't even know how to tell time yet. But we're going to break this down to you on a scientific, religious, and mathematical level in a second. If I can ask permission to do so from the High Priest of Colorado, Asaka. Is there any questions? Anybody have any questions in the chat room? Is the chat room open?
Not yet. There's a viewer or two in here, which is good because I haven't sent it out majorly until after. I want them to come to the website, get the grip.
Right.
Let's knock them down, and then we'll start to send these out. If you really care about this information, we'll see you looking at the videos. We'll see you later looking at the videos. Post your questions on the live chat after or the chat after, because that's when we can really answer you.
Exactly. Me and the High Priest Asaka will be doing a series of lectures and presentations on his format, his platform, which is Heknu Netshare. And because we don't want to overwhelm you so much at one time, because you become oversaturated. But just know that the Hari-Khaf-Ra Rising has just occurred on July 25th on the Gregorian calendar. How you doing, Brother Willie?
All right.
Okay. And then also, it happened on August the 3rd on the East Coast, where the Kemetic people celebrate. Most of the Kemetic Society and Temple celebrated on August the 3rd. But then it happens again on August 9th. August 9th on the East Coast, on the West Coast. August 9th at 5:56 a.m. if you're on the highest mountain or in your clear view and the clouds are favorable, no clouds, you'll be able to see at sunrise the star and sunrise at the same time. And this indicates that our planet has made one complete orbit around the sun. This is how our ancestors knew how to regulate the seasons. And of course, using the Merkur of the Great Pyramid, the northern star shaft points to the circumpolar stars, which points to Polaris, Vega, Theban, and Draco, which indicates where we're located on the galactic elliptic plane of our quadrant Milky Way galaxy. I know that sounded a little sci-fi, but if you're looking at a galaxy from an aerial view, it looks like a hurricane. If you look at a picture from NASA, it looks like a hurricane spinning. But if you look at it from a side view, it's nothing but a line with a glow at the top and a glow at the bottom, which is the black hole, glowing. And it's a line. That line is called the galactic elliptic plane. And our sun moves 15 degrees up, hits the line, goes 15 degrees down, hits the line. And this is how we move through the phenomenon of precession, which is 26,000 years. So, the reason I say that now, this is year number 7, because we know that through the Dogons and the Mayans, long count in the Dogon calendar, that the end of the year, end of the cycle was 2012 was supposed to be the end of the world, but we knew there was the end of one cycle, the beginning of another. But to make it more plainly, for anyone to tell time, why is this thing of time such a mystery? It's not a mystery. All you have to do on the spring equinox, on the 21st of March, 2018 coming up at sunrise, you just be out there at the sunrise. Before the sun rises, you'll see that the constellation of Pisces, which is a circle at the top with a long line going down, is no longer visible at the tip of the horizon. It descended below the horizon. That means we are no longer in the great age of Pisces. And if you look above, you'll see the constellation of Aquarius, which we call Ma'at Asa. We call Asa because if Pisces was the age of Set, because now we're talking astronomically, not astrologically. Astronomically, we know that Pisces is the great age of Pisces is the great age of Set, because for the last 2,160 years, you can see what has happened to us as a people. Okay, we have became mental, physical, and spiritual subjugated slaves. The first became last, the last became first. We who brought culture, civilization, we brought immortality to the planet. Now we've been reduced to slaves. We've been reduced to mental, physical, spiritual, mental incarceration. So, reason why we have not received our immortality because that 2,100 and so many odd years, 60 years is over, because we've been in prison for 3,000 years. That means for the last 900, 840 years, somewhere down the line, we didn't get the message that our time is now, because the constellation is as above, so below. This is what it means, is as above, so below. And it means, because and the only reason why this happens is because they control our time. Time is what they control. So I applaud everyone to take the Gregorian calendar down from your wall and apply our African indigenous chronological cultural calendar reform. Okay, this connects us to our ancestrals. And this calendar is applied all over Africa, all over the world. Every megalithic, every ancient megalithic architectural monument is orientated to this calendar, which is orientated to Suptet and Cyrus, and it's orientated to the Pleiades, Orion, and Suptet in the south, and to the circumpolar stars in the north. Angkor Wat, Angkor Tan, Borobudur, and Teotihuacan, Gobekli. They're finding pyramids underwater. They're finding pyramids in the North Pole, South Pole, but underwater in Japan, under the Bermuda Triangle. There are pyramids all over the world. This is why we have to rewrite our timeline. They have us on a Gregorian timeline, meaning that the pyramids are 4,000 years old. That's the greatest, the biggest fallacy myth that anyone could even tell you. And it's only that way because it relates to the Bible story. And the whole story of our historical timeline has to be rewritten. The only way we can rewrite it is to reestablish our connection. Now, what I have introduced is called the Natharu star timeline. So there's 2,160 years in every great age. One great year is 26,000 years. 2,160 times 10 is 25,000 years plus 100 sort of years comes up to 26,000 years. So the great age of Pisces that we just left, we just dawned on the age of Aquarius, which is Ma'at. The great age of Pisces, which is Set, was 2,000 years ago. You go back there to 0, that's called on the Gregorian calendar AD, birth of Christ. Now we go back 2,000. Now we go back 2,160 more years. We come into the age of Taurus. Now, how do we relate this? Because our ancestors wrote everything. Our ancestors star-dated everything. Every megalithic architectural monument, every temple is orientated to a celestial star, to a celestial constellation. So we know that in the Temple of Thebes, or Luxor, at Karnak, 18th dynasty Kemet, or Egypt, the Temple of Amen-Ra has an avenue of sphinxes with ram heads. And these ram heads are orientated to the constellation of Aries. So this means that this is the Temple of Amen. And when the sun passed through this constellation 2,160 years ago, it became Amen-Ra. And so now we go back 2,160 years, we're in the age of Taurus, which is the age of the bull. We know in Menefa, they worship Ptah as the bull. They mummified the bull. So then we go back 2,100 years. We end up in the age of Gemini, which is Shu and Tefnu. So we don't have we have no findings yet. The CN hasn't blew this information up yet. But we go back 2,100 years, 60 years. We end up in the age of Cancer, which is Kepra. We have temples of Kepra all over Kemet. And then we go back 2,160 years. We end up in the age of Herukuti or Sekhmet, which is the age of Leo. And we know that 12,000 years ago, so that's 2,000 for Pisces, 2,000 for Aries, 2,000 for Taurus, 2,000 for Gemini, 2,000 for Cancer, which is Kepra, and 2,000 for Leo, which is Kepra or Sekhmet, and that's 12,000 years. 12,000 years ago, the Sphinx lines up with the constellation of Leo. 12,000 years ago, the constellation Leo rose in front of the Sphinx. This is how we told time. This is how our ancestors it's called a Natharu star timeline. But yet we know that the Sphinx could not have been built 12,000 years ago, because 12,000 years ago there was an ice age. Paleoclimatology, Google it, paleoclimatology tells that there was an ice age, and the ice age was just melting. So that means the polar caps were melting, meaning that the oceans were rising. that meant that the Sphinx enclosure, which is lower down in the plateau of the pyramid of the Merku, is a Sphinx enclosure lower down, was filled with water. So if it was filled with water up to his neck, that meant that it couldn't have been constructed then. That means you have to go back around the phenomenon of precession, or back around 26 more thousand years, add that 12,000, that's 38,000 years, and that's just being immoderate. We're saying that the Sphinx is over 100,000 years old, over 250,000 years old, because of its stone structure through geological testing. Okay, we're changing the whole system of how they are giving us a timeline. We're using the methodological timeline. That's why this platform is called Heknu Necheru, because we're here to connect with the cosmic forces, to our Necherus, to our gods and goddesses. And this Ipet Teru, Ipet means to measure, Heru means day, or we call it a Shabit Dem Tuaheru Pama'at, means Shabit is the shadow of the light of the day, Shabit Dem Tua of the star, Em Heru of the day, in accordance to Ma'at, in accordance to the sacred doctrines of Ma'at. It's another way we call it, but depends upon what school, whether you're from Riketi Amens, whether you're from Heruketi, from DC school, Hari-Khaf-Ra school, Terry Nelson school. The Medinetta pronunciation varies here and there, but it basically means the same thing as long as you're able to express it within the order and origins of existence, which is part of our immortality. So, basically, this is all part of the Pert Emheru Panebu. So whether you got it today, you didn't, don't worry, because as you travel hither and thither, north, south, east, west, upon the terrestrial plane within the atomic domain, know you that this is the Pert Emheru Panebu, the chapter of coming forth by day every, and knowing the continuous perpetual evolutions of Ra Never Teshera, which we're going to speak about in a minute. Let me send it back to the high priest Asa.
Say, Bob, we got some questions from my brother Ra. Kalaparusha, the brother Ross asks, he's got a few questions. The first one is this: why do you say there aren't 10 days in a week versus 9 days in a week?
Because we just went through that just a minute ago. Maybe you just tuned in late. Okay?
Right.
All you have to do is you do your due diligence. This is scholarly diligence. All scholars, all theologians know this. All people of every color but black people know that there's only 9 days in a week. Because if you follow a 10-day calendar, if it has 10 days in a week, that means there's 30 days in a month. And if it's 30 days in a month, it's a lunar cycle calendar, because a lunar cycle is every 29 and a half days. To begin to answer your question, I just keep hearing people keep asking me the same ridiculous question. The Kemetic calendar that you use today is a fraudulent calendar. It's a Ptolemy the First, Soter, Serapis, September, Mary Amen. Excuse me, but I get a little excited again. But you have to understand that Ptolemy, when he was a general of Alexander in 323 BCE. When Alexander died in India, his generals took straws and they drew lots. Ptolemy drew Egypt. And when he went to Egypt, the Greeks figured out how to take over our spirituality. They came there to take your spirituality. And how they did it was with a mathematical equation. All they did was take a mathematical equation and place a variant. And when they changed the variant, they severed you from the cosmic and biblical cord, the cosmic, invisible, and biblical cord, which is Nut, the great mother. You came from the womb of the mother, and when you pass and you transition, you return to the mother. Now, 10 days in a week, 30 days in a month. We know this because all you have to do is your due diligence as a scholar in scholarship. Google, go onto that man's machine, and you Google first calendar reform. It's going to tell you 754 AUC. Now you got to put in first calendar reform AUC. Don't put in first calendar reform. You have to put in Ab Urbe Gotita, because most people don't understand that. So 754 BC is really 1 BC to Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar, when he reformed the calendar after the decree of Canopus 1, 2, and 3, which is Ptolemy 1st, 3rd, and 5th, when we got to the 5th calendar reform, which is Julius Caesar in 46 BC, Julius Caesar took the 754 years and threw it out the window. My name's Julius. It all starts with me. You know how egotistical he was. So that means that today, you think that it's 2017, And it's really 2,000, add 700 more years, it's 2,000, it's 26,000, 2,600 and so odd years. Because he already stole 700 years from us from Ab Urbe Cortita. All you have to do is your due diligence. It's in the public domain. Everybody knows that. Take care, my brother Willie.
Now,
Everybody knows this information. So all you have to do is Google first calendar reform, then Google second calendar reform. You're going to get 229 BCE, which is Ptolemy the First, 1, 2, and 3, which is the Decree of Canopus 1, 2, and 3, which is Ptolemy First, Third, and Fifth. Then you're going to get Julius Caesar, 46 BC. Then you're going to get 325, the Council of Nicaea. Then you're going to get 1585, which is Pope Gregory the Gregorian calendar. Because all you have to do is remember within your mathematical equation is that every 130 years, one unearned day is added to the calendar. That's why they have to keep reforming it and keep whipping you on your back and keeping you a slave and just keep you subjugated. And that's where we're at now. So now they used to whip us to go to the plantation. Now you can't wait. The times I got to get to the plantation. You're running to the plantation. You're running to be a slave. You're running to disconnect yourself from the cosmic forces. And it's all about a mathematical equation. Because Newt has 5 children. Asar Set Society with Ra and Ptah men, if you ever read his cosmology, Newt only has 4 children. So here it is, a mathematical equation that's been perpetuated by black people to disconnect the black people from their cosmic connection. That's called contraband. Contraband is niggas conditioning other niggas into mental, physical, spiritual, subjugated slavery, which we call where you're supposed to be able to have your nagahood, your nagaship. You're supposed to be able to relate to the cosmic forces, and you can't even relate to it on an atomic level. How can I even begin to express the Zep Tepi or the origins of existence and the creation and development of the universe as it was understood by our most earliest ancient African indigenous primordial ancestors if you can't even understand the concept of time and lunar cycle time? And 10 days in a week. 10 days in a week means 3 weeks in a month, meaning 30 days. If you got 30 days in any calendar, it means that it's a lunar cycle calendar. Now, our Kemetic ancestors did have 30 days in a calendar because it was a seasonal calendar. It's the civil part of the calendar. In the civil part of the calendar, we have 3 seasons. Each season has 4 months. Each month has 30 days. 4 threes is 120, 120, 120 comes out to 360. That is the lunar cycle aspect of the 10-day week was dealt with agriculture. Only people that used that part of the calendar were farmers, was those that was growing the crops. Okay? That has nothing to do with your immortality. That's got something to do with feeding you and regulating the Nile and the menstrual cycle of the woman and the gestation process of birthing and the high tide and the low tide. But now we're talking esoteric. Now let's talk esoterically. We got to talk, when you're talking in the temple, you have to learn your primordial temple discipline. Am I talking too fast?
now, hold on. Now, he is aware of the other 4 calendars in ancient Kemet. You know, we discussed those as well. The Deacon calendar was the calendar that was used based on dividing the circle of the zodiac up to 10, which you know, I know, and he's stating. He wants to basically
but there's 36 deacons. There's
Right.
36 deacons. So
Right.
these 36 deacons represent 36 days.
Right.
So if there's 36 days in a month, that means there's 9 days in a week. There's 4 weeks in a month. 36 days, that comes out to 360 days. So the whole thing about the calendar, which everybody is not getting,
is the 9. But that was kind of the dissection that you just made right there, which is
but the most important part is the 35. See, each day is 24 hours and 35 minutes. This because 17 minutes was split between the duat and the tuat. Okay? Now, when the Greeks took over, but that's a perfect calendar, I mean. But there's only 6 forms of life: plant, insects, reptiles, water creatures, birds that fly, and animal. The man and woman does not exist. Now, Seb and Newt wanted to have children. That's why you see that picture. You ever see that picture with Newt the sky and Seb the Newt, and you see Shu holding them up, or Kemu holding them up, or somebody separating them?
Yep.
This means that the calendar has only 360 days and 24 hours and 35 minutes in every day. Okay? But we don't exist. So Seb and Newt want to have children because the only thing that separates the light Only thing that separates the sky from the earth, only thing that separates Newt from Seb is light. Because when the sun's up, you see the sky, right? But when the sun sets, you don't see the sky no more. Where the sky go? You see stars, right? But in the morning, you don't see the stars no more. You see the sky. And this perpetual, so now the sky keeps coming down to the earth. And that's Seb and Newt making love. They're mating. So Seb and Newt wanted to have children. But Ra said, hey, there's no way. Everything, time has already been allotted for. There's nothing I can do for you, Seb and Newt. Your children ain't going to be here. So Seb petitioned Jehuti to plead with Ra for an allotment of time so his mate Newt can have him and his mate Newt can have children. So Ra advised Jehuti not be done. The existing order of things cannot be changed. So Jehuti understood. Jehuti is the Lord of divine writings and divine sacred mathematics. Who's calling me this time? Okay, decline. Doing a live. Someone wants to call me while I'm going live. So anyways, Jehuti knew the 35 minutes that exist between the duat and the twat. So Ra said, okay, Ra needed somebody to name all the forms of life which Ra had allowed to evolve so that his works would have meaning. You see, he was beginning to grow old from the billions and billions of years of existence. So Jehuti needed the 35 minutes. So they made a wager. And they said in a wager that is known only to the gods and goddess, Lord Jehuti was the winner. He gained his prize. The 35 minutes of time he gained control of, leaving an exact cycle of 10 months, 4 weeks, 9 days, totaling 360. The 35 minutes when multiplied by 360 totaled 5¼ days. Added on to a year that still had 8,766 hours. For those of you who don't know about the 8,766 hours, it's called a Sidral year. A Sidral year is when the star Sirius rises above the horizon, passes through the elliptic plane, and returns to his original position in respect to the fixed stars, which is a scholarly interpretation. If you Google Sidral year, this is what you're going to get. It takes 8,766 hours. So each calendar, the solar calendar and Sidral calendar, they both have 8,766 hours. The only difference is the original one has 24 hours and 35 minutes, but there's only 6 forms of life, and the second one has 24 hours in each day. Like today, we have 24 hours in every day, right? That's because we're here. This is how we got here. Jehuti finagled the numbers. That's what he does. He's the Lord of sacred writing, sacred mathematics. You know what Jehuti does, right? He's the Lord of the moon, right? So Jehuti and Seshat, they took the Duat and Twat, and they gave time for Seb and Newt to give birth to the earth netters. And this is why we have 9 days in a week. Now, that comes from when, and this policy came from when the Greeks took over and ran a Sparta, Pianki, Tahaka, Shabaka, and then back up into Lower Kemet. They did not tell them about the Duat and the Twat. Now, that 15 minutes, that 35 minutes in every day might not seem a lot to you. But after 500 years, this is like with the lunar cycle. Every 130 years, one unearned day is added to the calendar. That means during the spring equinox, there's a drift. The sun is not rising in its proper position after 130 years from 754 BC or AUC, Alberbe Gordita, down to 299 with the first decree of Canopus, 2, 3, first, second, and third of Canopus, probably 1, 3, and 5. The seasons not lining up. This means that the people are going to starve. This means that when you grow the crops aren't going to grow. So somebody's not going to get fed. That means the Nesubiti is not doing his job. That means that the population will starve. So this is why they had to keep reforming the calendar. So it's basic mathematics to understand that the only way that you can get the proper amount of days with the proper numerical equation, which relates to the science of the light, which is an atomic energy, which is a hydrogen atom, which is atomic energy, because we know it's atomic energy because when the sun shines on you, it creates a what? It creates a shadow. What is that shadow? You see that shadow every day. People don't even know what it is. So if one is atomic, the other has to be subatomic. This is what it means to be in a temple. This is what it means to have primordial temple discipline. This is what it means to have your Naga ship. This is what it means to have your cosmic Naga swagger. because this becomes natural information to you. You're disseminating information through the cosmic forces that allow you love, guidance, and protection, which shows that all this other information that's been plagiarized through us, through this Christian and this Muslims and this Catholic and every other person that subjugated us and made us our slaves, that doesn't even make sense. If you can't apply it to the Netter rules, I heard somebody tell me the Netter rules aren't even real. The Netter rules are principles. To those people that tell me that my gods and goddesses are not real, that are not principles, I want them to do me a favor right now. Put your hand on the nose like this. Close your nose, close your mouth, and don't breathe that air for about half hour. Let me see how far you get if you don't believe in that god of the air, that goddess of the air.
Real talk.
You're real. The Netters are real. The sun, you don't believe in the sun, stop receiving this light. You don't believe in the water, don't drink it no more. Stop walking on the earth. I mean, just retardation questions because people are confused, people don't know, and they're living in fear. You're living in fear because of your diet, because of your living. You're eating that food every day. You don't know, and then you're feeding it to your children. Then you're supposed to be black power, and you wait, black power. Yeah, today's August the 6th, black power. Now you got black power and talk about today's August the 6th. You're on a Gregorian timeline. You're on a slave master's timeline. It's not Naga. It's not black power. It's Naga power. It's Naga ship. Because you could be black and be just as you could be black and be just as corrupted as you want to be. You could be a Christian. I know more Kemetic people that claim to have Kemetic names. They're all Baptists. Everybody I know. I don't know who Ra Nebuchadnezzar is. I don't even know who Ra Nebuchadnezzar is. I'm trying to figure out, how do you not know who Nebuchadnezzar is? All you got to do is Google bulge. All you got to do is Google birches. All you got to do is Google Petri. All you got to do is Google any Egyptologist who was in there stealing our artifacts and stealing our knowledge. And everybody knows that the pyramid text speaks of Nebuchadnezzar. We call him Ra Nebuchadnezzar Ra because one Ra represents the light. Neb means Lord, Tesha means holy, means great, and the other Ra represents what the reflection of one light, which causes the shadow, which is radiation, because light has a mirrored reflection, which is radiation.
To the limits, which has no limit.
Which has no limit. So now we're going into concepts of the esoteric and esoterical teaching of that's like when they say that we don't need to chant, we don't need to praise. All we need to know is the scientific aspects and the mathematical aspects in order to appreciate and to understand our sacred ancestral spirituality, cultural spirituality.
And
what you're missing.
Not to cut your wisdom, but just to build on that, it's disgusting to me.
Yes.
Because you say, I can figure out, but apparently you can't because you still run around with filthy mouth. You still run around abusing your body. You still run around with all the wrong ethics. You still run around doing bad stuff to each other.
Right.
So at what point in time do you say, I need ethics. I need to get back to what brought me here. I need to study the sacred text and put it in my life. I really need to look at nature and act as nature. Stop hating yourself. Remember who you are and be the Saw. Go on, family. I'm sorry.
So that's divided loyalties. Divided loyalties because nobody knows, because they don't know the Zep Tepi. They don't know the origins of existence, the creation, development of the universe. That was butchered in the scholarship. That's the first thing that Plato, that's the first thing that Eratosthenes and them took from us, was that concept. Because there is no heaven and there is no hell. They're European concepts. They even know that. The Europeans don't worship heaven and hell. They worship the Elysian fields. If you ever notice the Greeks, they got the fields with the reeds, and they walk through the reeds, they touch the reeds. You ever seen that movie, The Gladiators? In the beginning of the movie, he's walking through this reed. That's the Elysian fields. We call it the Seket Hetep. Seket means fields, and Hetep means peace. But before that, that was 18th dynasty was Seket Hetep. But in the pre-dynastic Kemet, Naga history, we had the Seket Aru. The Seket Aru meant the regions of the stars. It was meant the star fields. But even the Greeks don't believe in heaven. They believe in the Elysian fields. And they know the Elysian fields is Seket Hetep, which comes out the papyrus text of Unefa, Anai, and many other 18th dynasty papyrus texts, you'll read about the Elysian fields. I mean Sekhet Heptep, which the Greeks call the Elysian fields. So no one believes in this foolishness that they read today, but black people.
And they stuck.
Black people believe. They believe in everything but themselves. They'll chant the Muslim chant. They'll chant the Christian chant. They'll chant God's chant. Why don't you say Dwa and Zut Ra Em Abet Pet? You know what I mean?
Right.
Adoration to Ra when he rises in the east and the rising of heaven. Why can't you give praises to Ra? You don't talk to your father? You see Ra, you say, oh man, I can't come out today. The sun's out. You're living like vampires. Oh, the eclipse. Here comes the eclipse. I can't look at the eclipse. They told me don't look at the eclipse or I'm gonna go blind.
Right.
Watch everybody and say, what is it? It's the 21st of August on the Gregorian calendar, which is what, 15 days from now. When the eclipse comes, watch every black Christian not look at it.
You're right. You're
Yeah.
right.
I mean, it's just mental incarcerated slavery. And we love it. We breed on it. But because I know I can go to work the next day and they're paying me double overtime. I'm gonna get me a new car, get me a new house. I'm gonna make sure my kids get this brainwashing and they let it go. And this is it's a very pathetic and redundant, very sad situation that we find ourselves in. It's just very simply, no one knows how to tell time. And again, a shout out to my brother Reggie Mabry, House of Conscience, Black News 102, Sinetta TV. As we dedicated this edition to my brother Reggie Mabry, Professor Reggie Mabry, as he's affectionately known, who's holding down that conscious community.
Get spiritual, Saber Reggie. Get spiritual. We.
Yeah. Spiritual Reggie. Yeah, we'll get you. We'll talk to Reggie later on that though. Yes, but so back to the chanting. The chanting comes from knowing the Medu Netta. When you know the Medu Netta, you know the Usa Medu Nefer Hekau. Hekau means words of power, phonetically. But to say it alphabetically or unilaterally, trilaterally, bilateral, however you want to say it, the derivatives, you would say Medu Nefer Usa Nebu great divine words of power. But to write it with the ka, with the hands up, with the flax in the middle, that's Heka. Heka means the magic, the power. It means the atom. We're talking the atom now. We're talking the sun. The sun is a hydrogen atom. It has an electron. It has a proton, a neutron, surrounded by a nucleus that has an electron. One thing that we all have in common in this whole existence is the electron. And this is what Einstein tried to separate, because he knew that they can isolate the proton and isolate the neutron, and they knew it had the nucleus, and he tried to split it, smash it together in order to find the electron. What they're looking for is the electron. So they couldn't find the electron, but when they smashed it, boom, there was an explosion. So they found a new toy. They found a bomb. But the electron is how the creator separated itself. So this is what the word is. So the word that they say the creator spoke his name is a word of power. It says in the text, I am he who existed in the primeval ocean of nothingness, eons and eons of evolutions ago, before the beginnings of time. When I thought that the moment had come, I fashioned my mouth and I uttered my name as a word of power. With this power that was my birthright, I fashioned myself in forms from out of the primeval ocean of nothingness. I was alone at this time. There were none others with me then. I am the beginnings of time, which began when I took form and commanded the power. Now it came to pass that I found no place upon which I could stand. So I straightway brought forth from my own mind and thoughts the primeval mound from out of the primeval ocean of nothingness. Being that I was alone at this time, it pleased me to make others. So I went from being Netta 1 to Netta 2. I went from being Netta 1 to Netta 3. I made these beings in the manner in which all things are made. I, Ra Nebuchadnezzar, Ra, the he, the she, the mother and father of all existence. I embraced my shadow, I grasped my member, and I loved myself. I issued forth the Netcha's shoe, and I multiplied its forms millions and millions of times. I gathered a portion of the remains, and I swallowed them, and I spat forth Tefnu. They are my, and in similar manner, I fashioned her form millions and millions of times. They are my heart and soul, twins born of the same birth. And when you find the one, you find the three, because the three is of the one is of the three. Shu and Tefnut had union and gave birth to Seven Nut. Seven Nut had union and gave birth to the earth Necharu, who are Heru, Asa, Set, As, and Nebhet. Asa and As gave birth to Heru. Heru and Heteru gave birth to the Shemsu whores, who are Mester, Hapi, Tuamutep, and Quesenu. And when all this was done and all the universe came into being, it is I, Ra-Neb Teshera, who issued forth the order of existence. This is how it's written and translated in the pyramid text, in which was known under the scholars of Petrie, Bulge, and there's all of the Birches, Bremstead, Burge, and Birches, Bremstead. They all have the same story, which is now combined with another text from the 18th dynasty of overthrowing the chapter of overthrowing the Pepi. And this text is also known on the Shabaka stone. And it's known in the Kemenu. It's just broken down in different cosmologies using different different terminologies of science and astrophysics, and it's using spirituality. But there is no science without spiritual. There's no science without religion, no religion without science. We mathematics to equate it all within all of all. I hate to use the word religion because I mean spirituality, because when you use religion, you're talking a European concept, which creates more confusion. So we'll try to use the word spirituality more, our cultural spirituality more.
We could say ethics as well, or some people say morals. Some people say morals is a forced word, but ethics. The brother Ra has another question. He says, how does he factor in the lunar node into the calendar? So
how does he do what? I'm sorry, I'm charging my phone up. What did you say? I'll get ready to die out here.
He said, how do you factor in the lunar nodes into your calendar when it comes to
easy?
That?
Because the Gregorian calendar. Can you see me? I'm not moving here. Oh,
no,
shit.
I see.
Hold on.
Your
yeah. I just recharged my battery here. Let me see. Breaking it. Let me close that up. Here I am. You see me now?
Yep.
Can you see me now, Siba?
Yup, you're sideways.
All you have to do again. Yeah, I'm sideways. Yeah. All you have to do again. All you have to do is very simple. The Gregorian calendar is nothing but a plagiarized version of our calendar anyway, so I superimposed it right on top of this calendar to make it a practical calendar. So you can keep going to the plantation, take your child to the appointment, whatever it is you got to do, or follow the lunar cycles. Every 29 and a half days, I have the lunar cycles posted on each 29 and a half days. Every full moon is posted on our calendar, on our Ifeteru. Okay? Now, you follow the Gregorian calendar. If you open up the calendar, if you have a calendar already, if not, go to www.ptahoriginals.com and you can order it through PayPal. Just go up to the top of the page, to the left-hand side icon. There's 4 lines. You hit that icon, and there's 5 extra links there. You go down to 5 links. It'll say the store. Hit the store. Go to the store. You go to the store, press what you want. Units, single calendar, units, half units. Then go to checkout. Then go to PayPal. Place your order. It's very simple. Now, as I said, here you can see the first day of the year is July 25th on the Gregorian calendar, because that's the first day of the first month of Jehuti, the first day of Ra. Okay? Now, you go 9 days across, you go across, you get to August. August the 1st is denoted by a Shrek. A Shrek is a primordial cartouche in which the Nesubitis wrote their names in. These Shreks, now you go all the way around, and then to the next, that's August. And then on the next page, you see this Shrek, that's September. That goes down to October. You follow Shreks, and that's how you follow the Gregorian calendar. So that you can begin to transition, to acclimate yourself, then back into the cosmic forces that allow you love, guidance, and protection, which are the Netcherus. So it's very simple. And within these days, it shows you the new moons, the full moons. It shows you the cycles of the moon, because it shows you everything the Gregorian calendar shows you is right inside. This is a 3-in-1 solar, sidereal, lunar calendar. It's solar, sidereal, and lunar. All I did was took the lunar, they severed us from the solar sidereal and gave us a lunar. All I'm doing is reestablishing, reconnecting us to our solar and our sidereal aspects along with the lunar. Because the lunar cycle calendar is what you'll see. If you Google Egyptian calendar, you're going to see a lunar cycle calendar. You're going to see 12 months. There was 12 months in Egyptian year if you're using a seasonal calendar, because there's 3 months there's 3 seasons of 4 months, and each has 120 days in each month, each season. 120, 120, 120 comes out to 360. But yet still, what happens after the 360? Now they added an intercalendary day, an intercalendary month. Intercalendary means they threw in an extra month to put 5 days in it. This is what the Greeks did. They put another month just to put 5 days in it. We didn't even account for these 5 days were the days that the earth netters were born. That's why on July 25th, when I was at the Museum of National Center of Afro-American Artists at 300 Walnut Ave, the Royal Burial Chamber of Nesubiti Espalta, which I erected, the edifice I erected over 30 years ago, best kept secret in America. No one even knows you go in there and get immortality. It is on these 5 days before the New Year's that we celebrate the days that the Earth gods were born. That's why Jehuti won the wager for the 35 minutes, and he gave the 35 minutes, he multiplied it 360 times, and 7 Newt was able to give birth to the Earth Netters. So we celebrate the birthday of Heru, then next day the birthday of Asa, the next day is the birthday of Set. That day I light a candle. I don't hang out with him. I don't go to his parties. I don't eat nothing Set eat. But you know, he's in the family. What am I going to do? Okay? The next day is the day of the great Mutnatat As and the great Mutnatat Nebhet. And after Nebhet's birthday on that morning, the star rises on the Giza Plateau, 30 longitude, 30 latitude, at 5:03 in the morning. So I'm asking Ashwa Kwesi and all those who are going over to Kemet, how do you go to Kemet and you bring a Gregorian calendar? How come no one has stood forward to endorse Brother Patah's Ipeteru Shabitem Tuaru Pama? How come everybody's saying my calendar is fraudulent? Amen Ra Squad says that I have a pseudo calendar. And we already know that Amen Ra Squad are nothing but wig wearers. You know what I mean? All they are Greeks and Romans, scholars. I am not a scholar. I'm a scholar. No, I have scholarship, but I'm not a scholar. I'm a Nesubiti. I am a Naga, a Shemsu Hor. Now we have Nagas that are Shemsu Sets. This planet was ruled by the Netcherus. And after the Netcherus, it was ruled by the Shemsu Hors and the Shemsu Sets. So this is proven. I can prove this by just going back in your books and Google ancient Egyptian primordial dynasty Shereks. And on these Shereks, you'll see the names of Heru. The Nesubitis has the Heru on top and then his name. Heru's on top and then his name. But then you see Shereks with Uncle Set on top. And some Nesubitis related themselves to Set. So these were the Shemsu Sets. Shemsu means follower or child of, a child of Heru, or a child of Set. You was either Shemsu Heru or Shemsu Set. I'm a Shemsu Hor. This is a Shemsu Hor. I come from the great line of Heru. And I can prove this with a calendar. If you Google the Adams calendar in South Africa has a stone. It's called the Horus Stone. And on this Horus Stone, if they run back the computer analysis of Orion's belt on top of the 3 stones, because right now Orion's up like this, right there at 2017. If you go back to the Orion on top of these stones, it goes back 250,000 years ago. So here it is, 250,000 years ago, my ancestors erected a megalithic calendar and has a Horus stone. So this means that the Shemsu Hors doctrines of Ma'at was in full bloom 250,000 years ago, which is 250,000 years ago. And I'm saying that it took another 250,000 just to finesse and refine and to make it exact. I'm saying our ancestry, our spirituality is millions and millions of years old as human beings. Not coming from no ape, not coming from that Darwin's theory of evolution, that whole theory of evolution that they had going on. That is the most ridiculous story that you could even hear, that you came from an ape. Our ancestors who are here as human beings, as hominins. Hominin means you have a straight back. Anyone that walks with a straight back means that you're a human being. That means you're a Shemsu something. You're either a Shemsu Hor or a Shemsu Set. Now I consider myself a Shemsu Hor.
Follow Haru. Let me say this, because the brother says, don't forget to ask about the age of Aquarius versus the age of Pisces. Based on the March 20th and 21st date showing, we are 5 degrees of Pisces as of the date.
That's astrologically. See, we have to make a difference in astronomy and astrology. Now, when I say Pisces is the age of Uncle Set, I'm talking about a 2,160 year cycle through the phenomenal possession, which is a great year, a great age. A great age is a dispensation. Des is back to that Latin word, which means dos, two. It's not a millennium. A millennium means 1,000 years. This is a dispensation. A dispensation means 2,000 years. 2001. Every dispensation is passes through the ages. Now that has nothing to do with saying that Pisces people under the sign of Pisces are sentient. I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm talking astronomy. Now, when you talk astrology, now you're talking under a different. You're expressing under a different criteria and so forth. So now, when his measurement calculating it is also is obviously an astrological calculation.
So he's saying astronomy as well. He
But
also,
what I'm saying is to make this clarified is that if he on August on March 21st on the spring equinox before the sun rises, all he has to do is look at the get on the highest peak and look at the horizon, and you will no longer see the top part of the circle of Pisces visible. It is below the horizon, meaning we are no longer in the age of Pisces. We are in the age of Aquarius, the new great golden age of Aquarius. It's called the New Age or the Star Gospel of the self-creation around Nebuchadnezzar. Now, this other aspect that he's speaking of is needs to be touched upon, and that's why I'm asking the Queen Mother Goddesses, the Mutnatat, and other. I spent 50 years just deciphering that, just astronomical. I used to do star charts when I was 16 years old in the temple. I don't even remember how to do a star chart. I forgot all my astronomical configurations, astrological configurations. I know astronomy, but I've lost my astrology because I had to pursue this way of comprehending what was going on and restoring our immortality, that I had to leave that to someone else. Now this whole calendar has so much more aspects that needs to be brought out of it. I'm only trying to align us to where we are now in time and space, so that we no longer use like Mefundishi. I'm trying to speak to him, and Riketi Amen, and Samaj Bata, and the Terry Nelson, and all the great Sebas and Sebats that let us, this great thing of time is no mystery. We know that the star shaft of the Great Pyramid points, southern star shaft of the northeast vertical line points to Orion's belt, which points to Suptit, which Ron Suptit rises. We know how we're going around the sun yearly. Then we know that the northern star shaft points to the never setting stars, the circumpolar stars of Tawawurt, which are Polaris, Vega, Theban, and Draco, which shows us where we're located on the galactic plane of our quasi Milky Way galaxy. And we know that on March 21st, on the spring equinox, we know when the sun rises, what constellation is in the sky is Aquarius, which we call Ma'at, so we know we're in the age of Aquarius. Now, we know that the Earth has three movements. The three movements is it rotates on its axis. It rotates on its axis, right? Then it revolves around the sun. And as it revolves around the sun, it wobbles. There's a 23.5-degree tilt from vertical, which creates a wobble. That wobble, one wobble is 26,000 years. That's how we measure our movement around this phenomenon of precession. Now, there's three dimensions of time. There's daily time, 24 hours and 35 minutes, or 24 hours. Then there's 360 day or 365 and a quarter days, depends on how many hours of the day, around the sun. So you have daily time, the Earth rotating on its axis. Then you have revolving around the sun. Then you have the sun revolving around the phenomenon of precession, the three dimensions of time. But there's the fourth dimension of time, which is called the Zep Tepi, which is before time, the origins of existence, the creation of the universe, which we would have to have for another discussion on our show. But let's try to get to the time first but the whole story has to be done and told together. So maybe
absolutely.
we can continue this maybe we can continue this next week, nephew.
Yeah, we
I
can
mean,
do that
Siva,
on T-0.
I'm gonna have to sign
I'm
out
your
because I got my duck. I'm
nephew.
gonna
Do
have to
that.
sign. I'm your nephew too. Listen, I'm gonna have to sign off now. My daughters and everybody's are showing up. My granddaughters and the family showing. Ra's going down. You know when Ra sets, I set with Ra.
That's right. Well,
But I want to give, I want to thank, I want to say divine blessings to your platform, Heknu Netchia. I think is you are a great contribution to our spirituality, and I respect your priesthood, and I am honored to be on your show, and I hope that I can be a guest on your show again, that we can continue to go on and move forward and get everybody on the right time. Remember, go back to www.ptahoriginals.com and Hari-Khaf-Ra from the White and Gold Lotus Temple. We appreciate. I don't know what happened if he had technical difficulties. He's working me today. You got me dehydrated over here. It was supposed to be a 3-man show. Yeah,
$20.
yeah,
Pick that
yeah,
calendar up.
yeah. www.ptahoriginals.com. So in saying that, I'd like to say, Uncle the Jet, Uncle Johnson, Ubanefi Panebu Heru Ma'at, rising always in divine excellence with Ma'at all day, every day. Atun Ra Hotep, divine priest, Asaka.
Uncle Jasaneb, Ankwas Dejad,
And, and,
and then
another,
Akaku, and thank you again for dropping the gems on us.
absolutely. Another shout out to my brother, Professor Reggie Mabry, Sonetta TV, Black News 102. That's my brother there.
That's right, Uncle
Hotep.
Jasan. Say Reggie.
Atun Ra. Atun Ra Hotep.
Look up that calendar, y'all. $20. You got to support the Sabers work, man. He's been doing it for years, right? Saber Reggie was one of his students at a time. So you definitely want to make sure you pick up his work. Shout out to Brother Ra, asking the real questions. That's what you need if you're about that life, huh? If you're about that Hermet's lifestyle, you're gonna be able to answer the questions when they brought forth. And Saber Patai did not. It's sad that continue the discussion with us as he had technical difficulties. He was on with me for so long. I think his phone died. So, there you have that. But shout out to my brother Ra in the building, who also has he's got a physical area that they rent out where the brothers come and learn with him, asking the realest questions tonight, brother Ra. Kalu Purusha in the building, dropping the heavy questions out there. He wanna know. I wanna know. But it's always a pleasure when you have two Tp Awy, when you have heady tips in the building with you, when you have chiefs, when you have when you have him Kaz, him Necheretz, the Sister Sebek was in the building. We didn't get to talk to Harry, but man, when you got two in the building at the same time, it's always electrical, it's always magic, it's always hecka. So Uncle Jasaneb will be tuning in shortly. I think I'm gonna cover heck in the chair and what that means. I think that's going to be the next show, because you need to know where, if did he make it up? Where are you guys getting this stuff from, right? So you need to know, you need to get the understanding, and Uncle Jasaneb to you all, life, strength, and health.